History of Recording Analog 1. Now, analog recording really began with Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison came up with the idea while talking into a telephone receiver and holding the other end of the cable to his finger. He felt the vibrations, and he thought that if he could capture them and then re-excite the wire, he could record and play back sound. In his first successful experiment, he sung "Mary Had a Little Lamb" and was able to play it back. Now, he did this by putting those vibrations in soft wax. Then when he reversed the process and excited the wire with that wax, he had playback. Now, when you're doing the recording on a wax cylinder, you have to have these large cones to capture the sound. So lots of times there were up to 20 cones to capture an ensemble. And the ensemble was placed in specific proximity to the cones to create the mix. So maybe the lead vocalist was right up close, whereas other louder instruments were further away. And then, once it was played, it was there on the wax cylinder, and that was the finished product. Now, another format that came about early on was the optical track. Now, this was used early in the talkie period so that film and audio could be played simultaneously and in sync with each other. And what this does, it places on the side of the film, next to the sprockets, varying flashes of light. Now, those flashes produce an audio signal, and you get the sound for the film. Now, this is still used today as a backup to the many digital formats that are used in film. The next format we'll talk about is magnetic tape. Now, this was developed in Germany and first presented in 1935. Now, it stayed in Germany during the war. Now, magnetically charged tape is run across a record head, which rearranges the tape's magnetism based on the audio information being recorded. The reverse occurs on playback. Now, Jack Mullen took this machine that's pictured here and tape from Germany during World War II. This machine was first shown to Americans in San Francisco to much acclaim. This got back to Bing Crosby Enterprises, and the Bing Crosby show used the machine and Jack Mullen's editing abilities to produce pre-recorded radio shows. A new tape had to be developed by 3M to work on the modified German machine. And next, Ampex technicians reverse-engineered the technology of the German machines and improved upon it. They came out with the Ampex Model 200 and then continued in advancements from then on out. Now, we also had some consumer formats that came about during these eras, and the first one was the long play record. And this is kind of similar to the wax cylinder recordings, where the vibrations are being carved into a material and then played back in a similar fashion. And that was in 1948 that was developed, and that was used for years. Then we had the cassette tape in 1963. Now, this is similar to magnetic tape, but it's not the professional format. It moves at a slower speed and is lower quality magnetized tape. Then we have the compact disc in 1982, which we'll talk about in greater detail as we get into the digital formats and digital recording. And that's the end of part 1 of the history of recording analog.